Hi there guys, it's Rick here and welcome to Rick's Guitar School. Today we have ear training class, and in particular what we're going to do is we're going to further our study of intervals. If you remember, in interval lesson 1 we talked about the major scale and the intervals contained within that. And I also gave you a test of 10 intervals, which most of you did really well on. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to do a test. I'm going to give you 10 different intervals, but they're not going to be the same as before. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. What we're going to do is we're going to alter the major scale. So we're going to alter every single note aside from the root. And I'm going to give you a test on those altered intervals. Not only that, last time we played melodic intervals, i.e. consecutive notes, and it's always easier to work that out. But this time it's going to be all harmonic, so all the notes are going to be played simultaneously. So it should present a nice little challenge for you guys out there. So let's get cracking. Actually, before that, I just want to give you a heads up on my website, www.rick-graham.co.uk. I can never get that right. And I've put a link in the description box below. If you click it, it'll take you directly to my website, and you can subscribe there and get access to free HD guitar lesson content. There's also an HD guitar lesson store on the website where you can purchase high quality downloadable lesson content too. So check it out. Okay, let's get cracking with today's lesson on intervals. Like I said before, what we're going to do is we're going to alter the major scale. So just to recap, within a major scale, any major scale, but we're going to take C. Okay, and what we're going to do is alter every single note. The intervals within the major scale are root, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, root. Okay, there we have it. We're going to alter every single one of those notes. And that will sound like this. Funnily enough, it's called the altered scale. So every single one of the notes of the major scale has been altered there. So I think we can kind of work out the formula for that without too much difficulty. 1, flat 2, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. So there we have it. That's the altered scale, and that's every single note of the major scale apart from the root altered, i.e. lowered. So I'm just going to talk about a little bit about that and what the names of those intervals are. We've talked about the formula already, but I just want to talk to you a little bit about what happens when we take intervals and alter them. Within the major scale, we either have major intervals, okay, or perfect intervals. We did talk about that. But the important thing is with those is that we know that what happens to them when we alter them, i.e. when we lower them a semitone, for example. And there's a very simple rule to learning that. And it goes as follows. Any major interval that you lower by a semitone becomes a minor interval, okay? So if we had a major second, C to D, and we lower D to D flat, that interval then becomes a minor second because it was major, and we lower it by a semitone, it becomes minor. So that's now minor, okay? You can, of course, raise intervals, but we're not going to look at that today. This is just specifically to do with this. But you can raise a major interval, and if you raise a major interval, it becomes augmented. You can also take that minor interval and lower it again, so it's essentially by 2 semitones, and that will make it a diminished interval. But we're not looking at that specifically today. Okay, so major, if you flatten it, becomes minor. That's all we need for today. A perfect interval, slightly different. When we lower a perfect interval by a semitone, it becomes diminished. We can also raise that interval, that perfect interval, by a semitone, and it will become augmented, okay? So if we take a fifth interval, so in this case, C to G, we lower the G to G flat, that interval was a perfect fifth, which means if we lowered it by a semitone, it now becomes a diminished fifth. Okay, so a major interval, if we lower it, becomes minor, and a perfect interval, if we lower it, becomes diminished. Okay, so we can apply that to our scale, our altered scale. So our first note is low. Every single note is altered by a semitone, so that's going to be easy to work out. So C to D is a major second. We've lowered the first note, that second degree, and it becomes minor. So it goes minor second, minor third, minor fourth, diminished fourth, diminished fifth, minor sixth, minor seven. Let me say that again because I made a mistake in the middle. Root, minor second, minor third, diminished fourth, diminished fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh. Okay, those are the intervals that we're going to be getting in our quiz. So why don't we head straight on over to the quiz? Let's do it, guys. Okay, let's get cracking with the quiz. As I said before, I'm going to give you 10 intervals to test your skills with, but this time, in comparison to the first lesson that we did, we're going to have harmonic intervals, so the notes will appear simultaneously. As I said before as well, it's a little bit harder doing it this way, but that's the idea of the lessons. They're going to get progressively harder as we go on, and I've got lots more for you guys too. Okay. So why don't we get cracking by listening to our first interval. Let's have a listen. And again. Second. And again. Third. And again. Fourth. Again. Fifth. And again. Sixth. And again. Seventh. And again. Eighth. And again. Ninth. and again. And finally the 10th. And again. There we go. Right, that's the quiz done. Be sure to put all your answers in the comments section. I'm not going to make the answers live just yet. I just want to see all your answers to see how well you did. And especially some of you guys that got the previous ones right. I want to see if you got these right as well. So pop them in the comments section, and of course any other comments that you want to make. That concludes today's lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned for another ear training lesson coming soon, and it's going to get even harder. As I said before, it's going to get progressively harder, all these quizzes that I'm going to prepare for you. So I'm really enjoying it. It's going to be good, so stay tuned. Remember to check out my website and subscribe, and I shall see you guys for the next lesson very, very soon. Take it easy.